I can see your beautiful eyes. How are
How
you?
are you?
Because jungle problems, I've just been stung by a March fly on my hands twice right now. So it's itching
Oh,
and
let me
burning. Oh,
see.
I don't know. I don't know if you can right there.
You're red. Yeah, it looks
And
angry. Oh, I see it.
yeah, it's angry. And then
Yeah,
the other side too.
when you live in paradise.
I do. It's just that it has its own little, it's bitey. Paradise is bitey.
Yeah, a lot of thorns.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me find the right angle because I can't find the camera. There you go. How are you, my beautiful Kim?
Good. I was so happy to hear from you.
It's you run around in my mind all the time, and then no, you do, and then life happens, and then we don't get to get a message to send a message.
I know. I know. I have been talking about you in the last couple of weeks. It just so here's the scenario.
Okay, tell me
Here, give me the widescreen. I want to see all of you.
that.
There you go. Yes. That's my girl. Eric is president of the Small School Districts Association in
Okay.
California.
Uh-huh.
So we were at his conference and
Uh-huh.
I was approached I made a new friend. Friends are always good, right? And so I was approached by Dr. Irela Perez. She is the
Mm-hmm.
superintendent in residence for Renaissance Education
Uh-huh.
and a retired school superintendent and very active in a number of associations,
Uh-huh.
but is a very loud spokeswoman for Latinas in
Okay.
education.
Uh-huh.
So she said, I've been
Interesting.
trying to fill this keynote slot, and I can't find a speaker that's Latina and powerful and has a
Ooh.
message for education. I'm like, where you been looking? I know lots of them. I know so many of them. They're my girls. Of course they're powerful.
I
So you
love
must have sent
that.
some of that.
I love that. It's the keynote speaker. Is there anything I can see? I know you said something about maybe not being able to make it work, but I would love to hear
Well,
more about it.
oh, I'm gonna tell you. so
Okay,
so
I'm
here's my
ready.
thought, what we should accomplish today. So I find myself telling your story.
Mhm.
I feel like I need to be cautious about it because I don't want to infringe on your privacy first. And
Mhm.
second, some of it may still be a safety issue. So, what I'd like to do is have you tell me the
Uh-huh.
story as you'd like me to tell it so
Uh-huh.
that I know it. And then I'll share it with Arella and I'll make an introduction.
Oh, thank you. And I love you for that. I do touch on that. These times feel like I have to have a little discernment into what precisely because of safety.
Yeah. I mean,
And
you've got your baby that we need to be very
yeah,
conscientious about.
yes, we do. Let me let me ask you this. There's so many layers. I mean, Kim, I've lived so many lives in one.
I
So,
know. I
which one
know.
of all the stories do you think matches there? And then we can start through there. Like
So
which
let's go
side?
back. How about just for the fun of it, let's go backwards. Because I think I was 24 years old when we met. Can you believe that?
You were 24 years old.
4 years old when I was your teacher.
Oh my goodness. I'm
We
45
don't
now.
have that many ages apart from us. Like I'll be 53 in a couple of weeks, right? So
Yes, no,
we
not
talk about you guys as my kids. And it's
how strange is that?
ridiculous.
Yes,
It's
it's
so
very strange.
strange because like age-wise, we're
No,
just not that far apart.
the love of my life, the man that I live with now, and we're building a future together. He's 56. Like there's no,
I
yeah.
know. I know. But in my mind, you guys, all of you, and I don't know if you know this, but you guys are the only ones that I was in person to teach for.
Really?
Everything else has been online. So like when I think of classroom experiences
It's
and
us.
it's all you guys. And so it's a very short segment of my life, but just like you, it replays over and over again.
Yes,
And
it does.
I will often dream about our classroom and I'll
Yeah.
dream about how much fun we had, how much I learned. Like, talk about fish out of water. I'm a Mormon teaching at a Catholic school, the only white girl to be
Right.
seen.
Right.
No Spanish, none. And I remember those little machismo brats that one of
Oh
you
my God,
dated
yes.
one of them. And I was like, oh, I don't know anything about
Yes, talk about fish out of the water. And
and
yes,
share what you're comfortable with and feel safe about. And then I will reframe anything I've done incorrectly. How's that?
I love it. And just so you know, because it's you, anything that you can pinpoint that it's important for relaying as information for my story, I appreciate the grace of asking me to do this and relay which parts yes, which parts no. But know that for me, you're a safe conduit of information. So I implicitly trust the information that you think it's necessary to relay or not. But I think I'm still struggling to see how anything of my story, for example, working backwards, helps out in any way. That's
Are you kidding? Okay, let me tell you how I introduced you. Because
okay.
she was saying, I need somebody that cares about education. I'm like, you should talk to Tony. I said, Tony forced me to allow her into advanced placement English. She came not speaking a word of English and insisted on being in my AP English class. And my AP class was tough. Do you remember
Yeah,
this?
it was. It was, and I loved it.
You did. You thrived. But do you remember me telling you, crazy Tony, you don't want to do this? Like, do you have any idea how hard I'm going to be on you? And
yeah, I
you
remember
were
you
afraid.
giving me a disclaimer, like a very nice, kind disclaimer, like,
Okay.
there's no like additional allowances because you're
Yeah.
Mexican, because you're on the ESL group. There's no additional allowances. And all I remember is thinking, if my syllabus includes reading books and digesting the information and the metaphors, like, why wouldn't I want to do that? Even if it was just to have the experience. But it was all you, because when I started doing that, you were the one that kept me confident.
That's so nice.
It's true. It's true, because I was intimidated. It was all Americans in that classroom. The Mexicans were on the
We
other
came
side.
at the same time, didn't we?
We what?
We started at Vincent the same time.
Yes, we
I
did.
did not realize that. I thought
Yeah.
you'd been there longer than me.
No, I started late. Yeah, I
Yeah, we
started
were
late because I
both
was in a
out of our
Mexican
leagues.
school.
Okay.
So this is why you run for a myriad of things, but that was the beginning for me of having a figure of authority that I respected, that saw me,
Oh.
that saw the capacity. And the mere fact that you gave that disclaimer and said, well, not, you're going to be, there's no allowances because you're the only Mexican girl here. But the way you said it, it wasn't obviously standoffish. It was more like, beware,
Oh,
like the
yeah.
Sphinx.
I didn't want to scare you because I thought, I want you learning and I could see how smart you were, and keep in mind, this was my first teaching job too. So we
So
were
thank
both
you. I absolutely love the class. And so what seeing myself through your eyes made me reach the first place in some of the times. I remember some of the girls being very put off by that.
Oh, the glares they would give me.
Yes.
Like, okay, Maria, and Maria. Not like that. Because it just took me so long to process. Because I grew up in Wyoming, I just didn't have. It was a cultural immersion that I feel like I benefited so much from.
You were in a boot camp.
It was.
And very particular one too, because it wasn't fully blown Mexican. It was Mexican, Mexican American, and American. It was just three different worlds.
Everything. And the nuns. I'd never
Oh,
seen a nun in real
yeah.
life.
Yeah. Add the thick Catholic layer with theology included, like,
Yesterday, I was telling somebody the story. You were in my choir too. Do
yes.
you remember singing for the Archbishop of San Diego?
Oh my God.
There was a mass.
I had forgotten that.
Yep. So he came to campus and we had to perform. And I could only play piano. I didn't know how to play guitar. And all the Catholic music was in
Guitar.
guitar chords. And I was like, okay. So I brought little primary songs from the Mormon church and we sang that.
Nevertheless, I love it.
Nobody ever caught us. I thought, oh, I'm going to get fired. I'm so fired.
I love the resourcefulness.
We didn't have a choice. It wasn't like we could print off sheet music at that point.
Yeah. Plus, what the core message is love, the core message is love,
We didn't get caught. We did not get in trouble. So it was all good. I was also telling them, this is to answer your question. Do you remember the bulletin board that I kept there the whole time that said knowledge is power?
Yeah.
That's the theme. That's what I see in you. The more you learn, the more powerful you've become.
Well, that's what you've seen since the beginning, and that's what led me to trust in me. Because it was, in a way, I can't convey it really, but it was not this enabling way. It was very kind, very caring, but I was being held to a different standard. I know most of the people probably didn't realize that. I know that my brother didn't thrive in your class too, but
Carlos did fine.
Well, yes and no,
But
because
he didn't have the same goals as you.
No,
it was very different, but your brother was fantastic. I got along great with Carlos.
He's working in computer science, doing programs and algorithms for drones and boats and
Wow.
airplanes in
different
San Diego.
different
Yeah,
that's
very different.
He just needed to get through English. He was like, where it was your passion.
Yes.
Right?
Well, it involved
You
books
loved writing.
and literature, and yes, exactly. So it was.
And if I remember, even with poetry sometimes is really difficult in ESL, but it never seemed to be a challenge for you. Like you just inhaled poetry.
Because it's just different layers of language. Language is the core of it. It's not just English. English I love, but languages, it's the digesting the different levels of communication and what it means, and having different people understand different things, but the core message is the same. Like we said, the core message, if it's love, but somebody will understand it according to their level. But if you open a door like you did of, I see this in you, you might be able to reach inside of you or yourself and access that, so that's what you did. Okay, knowledge is power. I love it. I'm still struggling.
Just walk me through. Tell me about your time in high school. Why did you come to a US school? What prompted that? And how did that shift into what you do now?
Well, I wanted to run away. I wanted to run away from the life my parents were giving. And so I always I was supposed to be going to Mount Carmel because I wanted to be in a boarding school. It was a running away kind of thing. And only touched a few times in considering the actual running away. I was much younger. So when I was given the opportunity to where to study, all of my friends would say oh yes, the CETIS or the Shishi schools in Mexicali. Sorry, I'm shifting sides because my finger is ballooning up as a Mickey Mouse. And so I didn't want that because it's the same stew the same. And I didn't think I was going to learn much. It was just partying and who is who.
Right.
And so that's why I first wanted to go to, you met me when my father stopped helping financially. But before, when you met me, my mother was the one that was paying the school. But before that,
I'll edit this out if it's something I shouldn't include. You had shared that there was a custody situation. Let me phrase it that way and let you explain it however makes
they
the
had a
most
very
sense.
messy divorce, very, very, very messy divorce. And we ended up being kidnapped. As there's a term in Spanish that I don't know, and I'm sure if there's a legal term in English as well. And so we didn't see our mother for 7 years. That's what you're referring to. We didn't see her, and we were the ones that convinced our father to bring us back to be closer to her. So yes, it was messy, very messy, because for years we didn't know where our mother was. And we were under the impression that she had, quote unquote, abandoned us because she wouldn't find us where we were.
Yeah.
We were taken forcefully to another city, to the center of Mexico. So growing up, it was a big cognitive dissonance of things, of, people that you feel love you or should treat you well, but then you see things not aligning, but these are people that you really deeply care for.
Right.
And so I think that also helped out a lot, excuse me, when you cut through everything and saw me instead of seeing a Mexican girl in a Catholic school, and anything else that we all identified with, you saw me.
I did.
And that
I still do.
Thank you. No, I know.
I know you do.
And that ignited a validation for myself so I could do it. So when you met us, I had maybe a year back with my mother, living with her. Yeah. And my dad
You
had
just told me this. Like, I'm going to celebrate. I love that you've carried all my babies.
Oh, I love that they're graduating college.
I know, isn't that the wildest thing? So the last time we saw each other, Kaylin was graduating high school. And this weekend, tomorrow we fly out. Derek graduates on Friday, and Kaylin also graduates 2 weeks from Friday from Fresno and from Utah Tech. So it's a big month at our house. But
It is a big month.
I keep asking them, I'm like, do you remember being baby Jesus in the posada? Because you were Mary and my babies were your babies.
Yes. I love that. And you were so graceful with us, letting us handle, carry them.
It's amazing because I got to bring my babies to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really did think of you guys as my kids. And so my kids and my kids should all get along, right?
Yes. I think you also conveyed that correctly. We all felt it. Some of them, the naughty ones, felt it also. And the ones that we were like me, that wasn't naughty, we were nourished by it. And I remember having other underlying situations and you immediately noticing a change in me and pulling me aside and asking if everything was okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you always saw completely. So I think for knowledge is power.
You know that I pulled the other part of that scenario separate from you as well and said,
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it. All I can say is I'm happy I'm here now. So when we met, my dad had stopped helping. And so my mother was the one that was paying for high school. So before this, you didn't get to see all the part where I went to Switzerland and about to stay in Lucerne in the boarding school. But then that
Oh,
didn't happen. So it was maybe pulled back to Boston. That didn't happen. They wanted me closer. So then that's why Mount Carmel was an option.
gotcha.
Then I couldn't afford it. So then that's why I said, well, at least Calexico. And
The
yeah,
most luxurious it plays in the nation, Calexico.
and I remember joking about it. So I'm gonna end up in Calexico, right? And she's like, no, 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 we'll see. Yes, I ended up in Calexico.
So
So
glad you did.
the universe works in mysterious ways. So we needed to meet. And I needed to have that thirst ignited by you.
You still have the birthmark hair, don't you?
Yes. But I think by now it's actual white hair, like of age.
Loved it. I always loved it. I thought you did it on purpose. It took me a long time to realize it wasn't just
You and my mother. My mother also thought I was on purpose until my grandmother told her, like, no, honey, I have one.
Beautiful. It sets you apart.
Thank you. Thank you. So I was terrified when we met. Not just the class itself, but the environment. The talk about fish out of the water. My father hadn't gone broke, and I'm in a ritzy school with kids that have everything.
And it was a secret then, right? Was I the only one that had no idea any of it?
I didn't really
Or it
talk
was a
about it.
secret? Okay.
Which part? The kidnapping?
The kidnapping, I was shocked when you told me that story.
Well,
I felt really bad for not having picked up on any of that. I had no
well,
idea.
I mean, you as a teacher, it's difficult to pinpoint the fact that two of your students have been kidnapped. Like it's not something that people think about as a regular common range of problems with kids. I think it was not very well known with my peers, except the closest ones, but the parents knew. The parents knew because they're the generation of my parents. And so it was a huge scandal in Mexicali. So that was difficult.
For sure.
And so being able to make a mark in your class because of what you saw in me made me, everything else didn't matter. Everything or didn't matter as much, like the trips that they were able to take, the clothes that they were able to wear, their parents, like their father being present, like just being able to go out. Things that they were able to do that I weren't as heavy because I was really good at AP.
You were. I underestimated you and I repented. I was really proud of you.
Thank you. But I also wouldn't put that as a sub story, like the other part. It made me have my first business. And I don't know if I ever told you about this. I would get out of school with my uniform, my little Catholic uniform, and go to the big factories in Baja, and all the heads of human resources were women. And so I would do their groceries for them because I had a car. So they would give me the list of things they would do, and they would give me my payment, and I would just deliver the groceries at the end of the day.
Okay.
And so that was the only way I was able to afford like hanging out with my friends.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of the things that they would do,
Mm-hmm. Well, and some of your friends could do some really exclusive kinds of things.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yes, it was
Talk
a different
range. Talk about a range.
Yes, talk about a range, which in that sense didn't intimidate me because I was born in that range, It was intimidating not being able to do it because my parents weren't anymore in that situation, but it made me not be starstruck or, like feel like I needed to have them happy. I was impressed by that, let's say.
Good.
So it was a complete change.
That's a big jump.
Yes.
That was very courageous.
Well, I think it also responded on running away. The furthest away I could be, the easier I could feel, the more at ease I would feel.
I kind of think that's only a little part of it.
Could be. I think
From everything you shared with me and everything I watch, because I keep up with whatever you post and I pay attention when I can. And I think you and I share this. I did a lot of running away as a girl. And I knew the only way that I was going to live a different life and break that pattern was by learning. So
yeah.
learning was my avenue to freedom. And you taking on New York, that wasn't running away. That was jumping in the lion's den. That was huge.
Yes.
It was convenient that you got to run away in the process, but I don't think that was the motive.
I think the moment I realized that it doesn't matter if you run away, your problems come with you. Then, that's when it stopped. Or I initiated the process of stopping the running away and facing me. The toughest part, because that's when you realize, yes, you could have been brought in difficult circumstances and your parents could have done some mistakes, but at some point you have to be responsible of your life, So that was the moment, and it wasn't without a lot of an internal huge tantrum that I realized.
You wouldn't throw it. No temper there.
No, just no Latin temper at all.
No, none.
It was. I remember feeling like it was so unjust to have been brought up in such circumstances and then still be responsible for my life,
Right.
But I faced it, and it's different layers every age, different layers of facing oneself.
Mm-hmm. So when I explain it to my boys, because the subject inevitably comes up, don't you wish that you were brought up like me, like us?
Mm-hmm.
And the more I have processed it as an adult, and especially now that those boys are men, they can believe it. I don't think I would have been capable of being the mother I was, or the teacher I was to you.
Find the money.
My suffering hadn't had a lot of depth to it.
I agree. I think suffering is a teacher. One decides whether to bring it on as a chip on the shoulder and make other people suffer, or to finesse oneself and present the best version you can of yourself,
Right.
I do think, though, that we are ready, and this is again something that touches on knowledge is power, and also of the paper that I mentioned I was writing.
Yeah, that's what I know about.
Which prompted me to write, because I heard you were in this interview, and speaking about mind, heart, and gut,
Mm-hmm.
So I think we as humanity have reached a point where we have got to learn how to finesse ourselves through joy as well. I mean, suffering will exist, but I think we can spare ourselves so many experiences that are necessary if we learn how to finesse our own awareness that separates in three different ones, what you mentioned. So as a mother, I'm worried because, well, every mother worries, but as a mother right now, I'm worried of the massive amount of distraction in everything. Distraction, not in one layer. It's compounding effect of a million things at the same time. And also the reach of how information can be used for making people think or do different things, feel different things. And that didn't, I mean, of course, it's always existed to some level, but it didn't exist so blatantly as now. And so I'm worried that as kids are growing up, their brain is forming, but they have no other reference like we do. And we still have to pull ourselves back into ourselves. You know, we're still
Right.
sucked in by social media, by the news, by the distractions in general.
Right, right.
So I think that if we learn how to teach our kids to discern through the distraction, the only thing that will be sovereign is their own awareness. But for that, humanity needs to remember how to, like, what's the brain? What am I using right now? Where do I feel this information? What's the brain telling me? What's the brain for? Okay, what your heart? The same thing, your solar plexus. So, because it's getting to be so good and so finesse, the distraction is getting to be so well done that if we do not go back to ourselves, we will not, there will not be a tether to know what's real and what's not. And I think it might be, in my case, it might be pouring into this because of the constant cognitive dissonance that I grew up with, you know?
No, I think you're accurate in your analysis. That's what we're seeing in the education system. That's what we're seeing in the levels of anxiety in our youth, in the levels of just churn in their brains and in their guts. And there is something to be said for generational knowledge and being born with that center.
Uh,
But what you just described with all the distraction and the constant bombardment
exactly.
into
It's
their very young, malleable brains. So if we look at the science of neuroplasticity, we know the more you learn, the more you're capable of learning. But simultaneously, the more you lock yourself up, the more isolated we become.
yes.
And we've seen that to come to play. Like if you were to talk with Eric, he would tell you that elementary school children are in this very treacherous zone where they never grew up with a normal classroom. So there wasn't a return to the classroom, so to speak, after the 2 years of being in
Oh,
isolation. So the kids coming into kindergarten, the social issues have just mushroomed, like you say, and they don't know how to work as a pair or as a team. They have no attention span to speak
no,
of. The
I know,
behaviors
none.
are ridiculous, like violent outbursts, and the levels of autism are up, the levels of ADHD are up, the levels
Yeah.
of anxiety, the levels of acting out and emotional dysregulation and disability. They're just, and I don't know what the answer is to that yet, but it seems like that's what you're studying. Is that right?
That's what, yes, that's where I'm heading because everything that it used to be for us that anything that was printed, anything that was shown to many people had to be at some point in some retrospect, like vetted by professional experts.
Right.
It was curated, and I am not saying it was without manipulation. Manipulation has always started, I mean, it happened, but
Sure.
it was less levels because more people, less people had access to broadcast in books, in
Mhm.
they had to really go through the work and go through the fire of it, let's say. Right now,
Yeah.
we all as humanity are in diapers with being able to just press a button and broadcast. And so that untethers the credibility of anything. Question everything.
Well, and it discourages the ability to communicate face to face. I lost you.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
We lost each other.
Yeah.
Where did you leave?
I think the last thing you said was that the social media, the being able to broadcast very widely, very quickly.
Widely, massively, quickly, and that that leaves anybody with any background issues, with any sort of a back experience in life and intentions, being able to curate something that looks very professional with who knows what intention behind it. Sometimes there's even not an intention to actually make people think of a specific way. It's just to make distortion. That's also, that's a different kind of noise. And so
I think
how,
there is a lot of intentional distortion, but
Oh,
I
for
think there's
sure.
also a lot of noise in identity seeking. So
agree.
instead of having face-to-face conversations and instead of having real relationships, like we can do this
Yeah.
because we were in a classroom for years together.
Mhm.
So I still feel very connected to you.
Mhm.
But for this to have been our only kind of connection, it wouldn't be the same.
No.
So our children don't have that foundation. And
Mhm.
so they seek, and the data shows us that when children seek assurance from social media sources, that it really compounds those issues of self-doubt, of fear, of feeling like everyone else is better.
Right, comparing themselves.
Right, but none of it it has very, very little measure of truth.
I mean, humanity had at its core wants to belong, and wants to be
So
loved and wants to admired. You know, we all want that. But so if we don't learn how to discern what something makes us feel and what our thoughts are, like if we don't become our own self-observer, we'll just do things by inertia, by react. You froze again. I don't know if you're there. Are you
Yeah.
there?
Mhm.
So then imagine the benefit of teaching kids how to self-observe. Like, well, how does this make me feel? Why am I doing this? It doesn't feel good. But in order for us to do that, like the person, and this is why this paper is geared for parents, because, or caregivers, you know, because there's a bridge of love and care. So, for example, you were a bridge of love and care for me. If whatever information you relate to me was absorbed like a sponge. And so if people that have, whomever will pick up this paper means that they're interested in, they have a little person somewhere that they're
Yeah.
interested that they'll do better, you know, in life.
Yeah.
And that is the buffer for them to get the message through. But for that message to come through, the older person, whomever's a caregiver or parent, has to learn how to self-discern as well
Mhm.
through daily life things. We're not talking about, oh, set aside 2 hours in your day and do your beautiful asanas and meditations. It has to be, which is beautiful too, but it has to be
Yeah, yeah.
integrated in our daily life.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we disconnect and engage into distraction and reaction. And so, yeah, that's basically the paper. I'll send it to you. I
So
think we
walk me through
digress.
the outline. You know me, I need an outline. Walk me through the
Oh
outline.
yes, and I thought of that today, and I was like, the one person that
Did you
will
follow
be
the template?
okay.
You want to know what's really funny?
What?
That outline that I made you guys live and breathe is the same one I sell.
Yes, you mentioned that on
Exact
the
same.
last time we saw each other.
Yeah.
Here, let me access.
Not
See
to put
that
you on the spot or anything, but
yes,
I know
I do
you're
that when
probably
I'm on the
fine.
spot. And so now Miss Bonnickson is asking me for that. Like, and I'm like, okay, let's see, how can I access this? Because I have it in my Google sign in.
porn, right?
Mm.
It's like beauty shots.
Okay, let's see. I think I have it in my, let me see if I
It's
can
okay.
access.
You don't need it. What's your thesis statement?
I have it written. Let me just access it. I need to open my computer.
Yeah.
It's just that I thought I was going to access it through my phone. Oh, wait.
It's okay.
I hadn't thought of a thesis statement.
I bet you did.
Maybe writing a paper for you at Maureen's house.
Are you still in touch with Maureen?
Oh my God, yes.
I also talked about Maureen.
What's your impression of Maureen?
I don't know enough. I just caught a few things. I don't think I'm connected to her. I think I've only seen things that you have forwarded. But I was
Okay.
really proud of her. She's doing major things.
Major things. And I think I might have
With the
told you.
government, is that right?
Well, she's involved with the government, not working with it, but she's involved with the government through mental health
Yes.
associations. Yeah, like she creates events, and she has this ability of calling the attention of the right people for this matter, for the, and the way that she's handling the bipolar disorder is, I have not seen something like that ever. And it's taught me so much because she has a huge level of self-awareness to the point where she has to bypass any feelings of shame, any feelings of doom, any feelings of that sort for her to actually step through and ask for help before a breakdown occurs or anything of the sort. So it's like, it's brave. It's filled with grace and self-awareness. I respect her so much. Okay,
I've been so impressed with everything you've shared from her.
Yeah, she doesn't stop moving. And she's that's become part of the purpose of her life.
Good.
Let me see. Okay.
All right. You're not in class.
But I feel in class. So disclaimer, this is not the next time we speak about this, I'll have your outline made for this. Yeah. Before.
Not okay.
So it's this one. I think there's things that touch here that could be used for knowledge is power and thing, but this I went a little bit more energy. So it's called the light bubble. How to teach your kid. Oh, okay. Disclaimer. I had to do I figured it would be less daunting, more accessible, more widely spread if I do a how-to guide. It's not this dissertation with a pompous voice,
Good.
So it's how to teach your kid meditation and visualization for self-confidence in a new world. And then, so the chapter 1 is why is this for a parent or caregiver, and not directly for the kid, which is what we spoke about, the bridge of love. So it says, the bullet points are the caregiving that made you pick up this book, the trust communication bridge, deepest wounds from our parents. What if we actively harness the connection and purposely nurture beyond basic needs of life, like food, shelter, whatever? Another one is navigating parenting in a new world, memory brain, overstimulated brain, bypassing the wool being pulled over our eyes.
I like that one.
Well, that's basically what's happening. Yeah. Benefits of meditation visualization. But further down, I go into what I said earlier, which is not an hour. It's not this whole production. It's just checking in with yourself in brief moments in a day. So
hey, let's do it this way. Let's pretend
that
I'm one of the parents that would pick up this paper brochure. Like, how are you going to disseminate this?
Well, it's started as a paper and it's becoming longer and longer and longer.
Doc. Okay, so let's call it advice.
Okay.
Whatever form it comes out in.
Okay.
It's loving advice,
Yes.
right? Okay. So I am a mom with kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in agreement with you
Mm-hmm.
about where the world is and
Mm-hmm.
for ways that I can take action without reinventing myself.
Mm-hmm. Without having to
What do you
make
say
it
to
this
me?
whole production, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have it in another chapter.
Right.
Well, so far there's 6 chapters. What I read to you right now is just a bullet point of chapter 1. And
I like
so
it. This isn't a critique. Don't be defensive.
how to start. Okay, chapter 5 is how to start. Let me go back to that. So become the self-observer. It created a flexible 3-month. It's a framework that gives the caregivers adaptable structure while allowing them to follow their child's natural rhythms. Can you hold on a second, Kim?
Yeah.
Baby, do you want to turn it on here? And I could just go upstairs. Are you sure? All right. Just watching baseball. So, all right. So this one, there's a few, but this one's a 3-month heart-based movement program. It's a flexible framework. And you start with gentle, playful practices and then gradually deepen the engagement. So there needs to be a variable, an ability to adapt. Parents can integrate practices into daily routines. So before bed, after school, during transitions, like, I don't know, a car ride. The goal is to build familiarity with simple movement-based awareness techniques. So I don't know, you could choose from 1 to 2 sessions, and one of them, for example, it's like a truth walk, but it's a truth walk. It's walking slowly while turning into your body sensations and learning how to feel the truth. So I do with Sasha. I ask her,
That's beautiful.
well, thank you. Thank you. It's easing humanity into returning how, we can't, I mean, it has to be gradual. It has to be very tender, flexible, adaptable, and parents have to be able to do it between the hecticness of life.
So we call this micro learning.
Okay.
So there used to be a capacity to come, like my favorite English classes were our block days where we had 2.5 hours.
Right.
And we knocked stuff out. Like we would do literature for 2 hours. Right?
Yes.
And I really didn't allow people to not be paying attention.
Right.
Kids, they don't have that
attention span. Yeah.
They need micro learning instead of macro. So what you're proposing is very educationally sound and research supported.
Thank you. I'll look for the term itself so I can back this up, because
So
I noticed that
you want to shoot for like a 3-minute experience.
exactly. And
You're so on track. I don't know if you're on track on purpose or you're just naturally.
I love you. There's another, for example, there's different practices like, let's see. Oh, my finger is really, really, look at that.
I know you need a Benadryl.
I'll take it in a second. There's, for a second.
TikTok. Do you have Scotch tape? We should test this.
Okay, what do you do with Scotch tape?
You put a piece of Scotch tape over an insect bite and it sucks out, like within an hour, it should suck out the poison.
So you put it on for an hour.
Myth. Huh?
You put it on for an hour.
Huh? Yeah, just a regular piece of tape.
Well, for now, it's been more than an hour, so the venom is already running.
No. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I see it. It's definitely swollen, but put a piece of tape on it and the adhesive sucks it back up instead of letting it go in.
Let's try the hypothesis. Let me grab it. hold on. I should have it here. Okay,
Guess it's better than
So-
rubbing dirt.
for sure. No, I was thinking maybe or later on I should put some clay on it. Speaking of dirt. Hold on. So the other practice, for example, is things that the gentle swaying.
That's very good.
I came across these because trying to teach Sasha these things, she's 8 and she's from another generation. She's part of the
Is.
generations of like no school for 2 years, it's
Yeah. It
So-
broke them in a lot of ways, but it will make
Yeah.
them stronger.
And so I see the lack of attention span and I see the just inherent for kids necessity of moving,
Yeah.
And so that's why there's another one, the rocking stillness, gentle swaying to regulate the nervous system before the stillness.
Mhm.
Breath and motion, moving arms in circles while breathing deeply to focus attention. And I do that too also when she's studying for something at school. Whereas I had to sit still and go into my mind,
Yeah.
she can't. She
That's
And
why
maybe
there's a huge market for fidget toys.
and I
There's
have her grab something as a fidget toy or
Mhm.
walk around,
definitely.
walk around.
Smart. Hey, make a note right there. Add in Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. That proves those recommendations.
Okay,
That
hold
if
on,
you
Howard.
incorporate, it's Howard, Howard, Gardner, Gardner, and
Mhm.
he's a published Harvard research study, the 7 intelligences or multiple
Okay.
intelligences. So anytime there's 7 ways that we learn, and it comes from the body. Just like we study the 7 chakras, there's 7 modes of learning. Like 7 is like everywhere. But if you can touch it, if you can hear it, if you can see it, if you can taste it, if you can manipulate it, anytime you can smash together the different levels of cognition, you increase. Like if you can do 3 ways to learn, you can get up to 70% retention. If you do a single one, like if you make her sit still and just read, the retention is probably 10%.
Exactly.
So his data, and it's not new, it's very established and very utilized.
Perfect. I'll dive into that for backing this up. So the framework, there's a few, but the framework is beginning very easily, like very softly with the first one, which is the foundational practices, which is the truth walk, the rocking stillness, the breath and motion, and then going into the deepening connection, which is like from week 5 to 8. The goal is to strengthen the discernment and emotional awareness through movement. So for example, one of the practices is balance and truth, standing on one foot while thinking on different statements, like what feels stable,
That's so smart. I like that.
Mirroring movements, partnered exercise to strengthen intuition and energy awareness. I do that with Sasha too. Spiral contemplation, walking in a slow spiral while reflecting on a question.
I haven't heard of that one.
I go back at this because we've skipped over the outline. There's a point where it says how, and this is also something I touch base with Sasha, but because it's something I've been doing, and I find I find amazing results with it, and I'm shown that what comes up is true, to always touch base through your heart, and so
You're right. If you look up the Hopi symbol.
Yeah.
The Hopi symbol is a maze, and it's that circular progression that you talk about. And they anciently, so the Hopi and the Mexicans and Aztecs and the Anasazis, if you look, they all have that spiral pattern.
Yeah.
Your application of that into a learning motion, it might be new, Tony.
Of
Good
course.
job. Good job.
Okay. Okay, this is something I haven't had a chance to tell you,
Okay.
but on Saturday I'm going to Turkey with my best friend. So, but this is a spiritual journey. We
Oh,
are being called to go to sites, and yeah, and
I'm going in June.
oh really? Did you have everything planned already?
The boys for their celebration, and we start in Istanbul.
I
I was
love
supposed to
it.
be 13 years ago to help train Iraqi thought leaders
Uh-huh.
how to think and how to rebuild business and education in Iraq. And it got
Mhm.
canceled because there was a revolt in Turkey and the whole thing
Yeah,
got off. So
yeah.
I've been trying to get there. What are you going to see?
It all started because my best friend and I speak. She's American, and she has a long trajectory of grant writing and consulting and in the States, but she lives
Mhm.
here. And so we mix a lot of different topics of information, you know. And
Good.
one day can you hear me? One day we were talking about a series she was seeing in TV, and she mentioned a site in Turkey, and she was speaking of the story, and then she said, "Just look at the series." And I said, "Well, I'll look at it at some point." And it turned out that the symbol for that site is something that I've doodled since I was a kid that involves spirals.
But what is the site though?
Göbekli Tepe.
Oh, you're going to have to send that to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll write it
Is
right
that
now.
is that Spanish for it or that's what it's called?
No, it's Turkish.
Say it again.
Göbekli Tepe.
What does
But
it mean?
hold on, I'm pronouncing it in Turkish, so in English probably would be Göbekli Göbekli Tepe. I'll
You
write it
speak
here.
to?
Göbekli. So the reason why, like when she found out that I doodled that all my life,
Yeah.
she said, I have died all my time. It's like I wanted to go to Turkey. My birthday's coming up. Her birthday is on Friday. And she said,
Nice.
I want you to come with me, you know? So yeah, so that site it has the oldest written word in the world, which is God.
I may have to make that on our trip.
We
What
are flying there.
is it at though?
Never here. Hold on, let me open my itinerary.
So we get
Mm.
a couple of days in Istanbul and then a Ephesus.
Yes, we're going to Ephesus too.
So you take notes and then I'll follow in your path.
Yes.
I'm so excited. And then we end at the Vatican.
I love that. We were going to end up in Rome, but it just changed the shift of plans. Wait,
Mm.
where is Göbekli Tepe? We're also going to Cappadocia. Okay, so for Göbekli Tepe, you would need to fly to Sanilurfa.
I'm not going to get to see it. You'll have to just take it. I'm
Yes.
so jealous.
You froze. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm being jealous. Yes.
I
Just take
absolutely,
pictures.
huh?
Lots of pictures. I wonder if the spirals match?
Well, the reason my eyes went widened when you said that is because I've had visions of me walking the symbols of Göbekli Tepe, and I had not linked into what you just said, you know?
Yeah. Let's see. Hopi.
I saw it. I saw it. I have them here.
And
And
how the Hopi symbol.
the one with the cross and the spiral the
Yeah,
the
it's the
Göbekli
maze. They call it the life maze, I think.
Tepe has two. Göbekli Tepe. And we're also going to Mount Nemrut, which is like a symbol, which is even older. Hold on.
They're the same.
Basically, compounded
Tony,
effect.
they're the same. So I've been studying so much on monolithic structures
Uh-huh.
and anthropological connections between the 7 continents.
Uh-huh.
So you will find that spiral on every populated continent.
Mhm. We are on a quest to link the monolithic, not just that, it's what it opens in energy. And
Yes.
so we're bringing, last Sunday, we went to the sites here, the Mayan sites here, and, just sat down and said, we're opening an intention to go. We wrote down intentions on a paper and then just had flowers for offering. Mind you, there's tourists all behind us. We're just sitting down in a circle
Yeah,
of
of course,
trees.
you're in Tulum.
And this ancient, huge iguana appears. We did
Oh my
not see her
gosh.
come in. We did not hear her. She was
Wow.
staring at us, comes into where we were, looks at us intently. And then we say, you can take the flowers if you want. She takes the flowers.
Mm-mm.
When she took the flowers, she takes it, she stands outside of the circle, but she stands looking at us, and it all felt like an acknowledgement because we wanted to, whatever would feel that we needed to take to Göbekli Tepe, to Ephesus, so we found stones, we found shells, we found, not finding like searching the earth. It's just the way that the trees and the air would move the sunlight, it would pinpoint what to take.
How cool.
So it's a study of rise and fall of civilizations, but with like a complete deep spiritual journey.
Yep.
And I love that you just gave me that. Thank you for the shape of the intention walks and the truth walks for the.
You're just patterning.
Uh-huh. You blew my mind.
What I have not heard that linked educationally. You'd have to dig into that, but that practice, that tactic of that knowledge is new to me.
I have somewhere, let me see if I can find it. But somewhere I have pinpointed studies of meditation and contemplation and visualization and how they impact knowledge in school. Because there are some
I'm
published
100%
studies.
behind you. I think it's brilliant. You think you might have something new, is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that might be a really big contribution, but because of my stroke, I haven't been paying attention for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, it is not a common practice, and that is something that, like, for the CALSA, the Latin School Administrators and School Boards Association, that's something that would really speak powerfully to them.
Mm-hmm.
Is especially so. Here's where I end up spending a lot of my time. I think that the principles we apply to children are just as applicable to adults.
For sure.
So when I find stuff like this, if we can get the adults doing the same thing, even if we trick them into doing it by saying, you need to experience this because this is what students are going to do, they will benefit from the same.
We skimmed over, but in the reality, well, if you allow me a minute, I can read you why there's a part of why you picked up this book. And this is, it touches into that. It says, the caregiving that made you pick up this book. For all intents and purposes, I will say that caregiver, I will just say caregiving or caregiver, because the world is so diverse in particular situations that by now we all understand that parenting is not the only vehicle method to care for a child. You could be an older sibling, a social worker, a person who has been entrusted by life with the rearing of a child. I will also address you as if I were sitting in a coffee shop talking to you about kids. I am no way changing my language to persuade you to think of me as an authority. that the topic of this book explores. I will only do what concerns me, share with you what I have lived and learned. Life itself will bring you the pieces of information here that will resonate with you. So take what does and allow what doesn't not resonate to pass through. We'll have our own paths, and yours and mine might just intersect in specific points. I believe the universe is such a perfectly complex system looking for balance that it has orchestrated the perfect series of events that led you to be reading this book now. It really does not matter how you know meditation or how profoundly you have explored this topic. What matters is that you're here reading it. It denotes a clear wish for the well-being of the little person you thought of when choosing this simple guide. Chances are that you're already familiar with meditation, some form of mindfulness. Even if you're not, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not, I'm lost. Even if you're not. The humankind thanks you for crossing this door in the name of love for your kid. We all know our deepest wounds come from our early years. This is not a book for blaming caregivers. This is a book to look at the impact of what is possible. If deep core, painful impacts are created for long haul, whether intentionally in unethical beings or unintentionally in overwhelmed ones, imagine if we harness the connection and purposely nurture beyond the needs like food, shelter, and education. This is why you're here. This is your intent. And it's also my intent as a fellow caregiver. I intend to share with you why I decided that if I had been purposely taught this, I could have employed better choices earlier, and I would have not become a survivor of suicide at 13. Did I tell you that story? No? So the reason of this how-to guide is written directly for you is not the tiny human. The reason why this how-to guide is written directly for you and not the tiny human, it's because of trust. When we care enough for someone, in this case specifically a child, to have their highest benefit in mind, we create a bridge of trust that acts as a door to the heart. There's also less woo-woo ways of saying this. Children are surprisingly indiscriminate in choosing what to believe, and they're nonetheless quite selective in choosing whom to believe. And I'm citing a study,
Can I critique?
Yes.
The beginning 3/4 of that is not in your voice.
Okay, hold on.
The beginning 3/4 is quite negative and defensive, where you start to talk about walking, your tone shifts into your voice, which is very loving and not blaming. But when you walk the path that you walk, you become defensive. But the language shifts in that paragraph, the why you picked up this book, there's a lot of defensiveness built in there.
I just made a note of that because it's true, and I feel it changing. Here,
those are doubting voices in you. That's not your voice.
Thank you for letting me know. Here.
Am I allowed to correct you still?
First, we made this agreement before we had a body. So
the intent and the message is correct. And about 3/4 of the way through, you find your rhythm. Find me that spot where I'm talking about. I think you know exactly where it shifts.
3/4 of the book?
3/4 of the way through what you read to me.
Oh, right now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Because the energy does a huge shift from negative, you don't have to believe me, but you picked this up for a reason, like street fighting tone kind of coming out.
I think it's if I just go directly by paragraphs, is the reason this how-to guide is written, what I was about to read. The reason why this how-to guide is written directly for you and not the tiny human is because of trust.
That's where it starts. That's where you shift, and that's your voice.
Thank you.
So go back up and rectify those prior paragraphs so that it matches that voice.
Perfect.
Otherwise they're going to slam it down and they're not going to pay attention because it communicates some antagonistic language a little bit.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much and I can, that's a beautiful insight because I can pinpoint within myself when I'm writing something, the way it feels different.
It does. That's the insecurity screaming out and the the setting up a barrier between you and them to say, I don't care if you believe me or not. I have
Right.
good intentions.
Right.
You know, and it repels instead of
Right.
attracts.
Yeah. No, it's not. It wouldn't be conducive for that. So it goes on to, speaking about memory and then the nervous system overload, the fragmentation of focus, and it cites some studies of, the ones that I mentioned before, of how there's benefits not just in their general life, but also in education, in the way that they absorb education, the way they're able to interact with their peers.
Right.
But I also note when to start. I tell the parents that this is a situation where you need to start doing it when you're washing dishes, because otherwise it's just
Yeah.
telling a kid to pick up their room, it's
Right. It has to be innate and not forced.
exactly.
There's a really cool book, Fahrenheit 105. It is a business fable. What is it? The principle of it is to change 1 degree.
Okay. I've written it
And
down, so I'll look for it.
it's a really, I wish I could think, I'm not getting the title right. Not Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. That's not it. It's like a picture book.
I'll look for it. Do you think I can find it in Amazon?
I have it stuck in my head now and I have to find it. Business fable.
34.
Eric actually bought this book for every one of his teachers. He liked it so much. And it's like, what is the boiling point?
100.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's 212, the extra degree. Found
Let me
it.
write
That
it
was
down.
crazy. Yep, I'm gonna text it over to you in the WhatsApp so that you have it.
Thank you.
Tony Robbins also teaches the same principle about golf swings,
Mhm.
and a 1 degree shift in the angle of the club. He
Mhm.
stole it from somebody else, obviously, but when you shift the impact of the club to the ball by
Mhm.
1 degree, it changes the trajectory just massively. So
Right.
you've got a lot of very common references that you could use to communicate that without being confrontational about it.
Right.
Say that it's that little tiny shift
Uh-huh.
that you look for, and just doing one thing differently, doing your truth walk. Like, what a
Right.
great,
Uh-huh.
but
Thank
make
you.
it so palatable that
Yeah,
it.
polish it through my heart.
Mhm. So one of the things so we moved from Holtville and Calexico to the Navajo reservation.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things that Eric had to do that was a huge thing was he was principal for the middle school.
Mhm.
And at 8th grade, they had a graduation ceremony.
Mhm.
Well, so many of the kids from the reservation, their parents saw graduation.
Mhm.
What do you think happened?
Ay, no sé.
Their parents said, "You've graduated. You can come home and work on the
In the
family farm."
reservation. Yeah.
They pulled them out of school, and we had dropouts because we graduated them. So he changed the name of the ceremony and the certificate to uh, promotion ceremony. So he promoted them
Mm,
to high school, and now there isn't this
right.
canyon that you have
Milestone,
to
like
leap
end of
over.
it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So because of some of that, I gotta show you this. This was hand woven by parents off the
That's
reservation.
beautiful.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And it goes along with your spiral. So all of their all of their patterns have a repetition in it, but they
Right.
always weave a way out. So in every pattern, there's always an exit point because they don't want the spirit to be caught inside the lesson.
Ah,
So that's why in the spiral, you see those various interruptions.
yes.
And when you study like labyrinths and the mazes that we see in so many different societies, they all follow that same kind of pattern. But isn't that amazing?
It is amazing and it's
How long
beautiful.
this takes?
No, I have
Maybe
no
by
idea how
hand?
long. It's a
It
long
was an
time, I'm sure.
incredible experience. No, oh yeah, I remember.
sister.
Yes.
But make sure you ask for it because supposedly it's not like easy to see if you see other things.
Okay. Yeah, we had this trip scheduled for the Iraqi Foundation, and we had local guides that were going to tour us through everything. Like we were going to get the insight. Now I'm like, oh, I'm just an American tourist. You're able to see the two continents that Turkey spans.
Right,
And
you're Europe on one side and yeah, that
yeah,
it has to be the boss for us. That's so fun.
have a great time.
Yes, thank you. Oof,
Yeah.
I'll relay all, like the places, but also the insights of the sites. And
Yeah, I do.
you gotta know how grateful I am for you having taken this time with me. Thank you.
Well, I was ecstatic to see your message this morning. I was like, no way, I've been talking about you.
You pulled my cord.
Right.
Well, always. You have a very,
Yeah.
very special place in my heart. And I thank you for that.
Same. You're one of mine.
Yes, I am.
I didn't have any girls.
Well,
I
you had
know,
me.
but I
You
am
were
done
like the
with a bunch
mother
of
for
girls.
me. Yeah.
Isn't that weird? I felt that way, but I still feel that way.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Thank you.
I'm proud of you. Let me know what I can do to help.
Thank you. You've already helped so much. And I'll come back with, the corrections. The red pen.
I did used to do that to you.
It's fine. Perfect.
Yeah. Just that one. Just that one.
No, but you
it
gave me
wasn't
something much more valuable because it's that way I can self-observe when I'm feeling that way, when I'm writing and reading it. That's not my tone then, go back to the other one and I can know how it feels.
I'm so proud of you.
I am honored to have you in my life. I never told you, I think I might have told you that when I was in New York, I got one of my Turkish friends to look for you. Yeah, I think he found your email. Yeah, your email. And I might have written an email like when I was 20 something year old.
Oh my gosh.
I'll look for that because it's in another email.
Yes.
But I spoke to you about you to my friends, to my Turkish friends. It was like, I'll find her. And they found you.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you. Enjoy the trip and everything.
I will. You too.
Thank you. Thank you.
These are the voices rising through time. Truth in the rhythm, fire in the line. From silence to signal, from echo to flame. Legends don't whisper, they rise with a name. Voices of legends. This is the upcast. 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 Voices of legends. This is the Upcast.